Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the broadcast. So, SpaceX is launching a couple different payloads today. Um, we have a really busy day in spaceflight today. We have this launch, which is the USSF-124. USSF stands for United States Space Force. You can see the mission patch on the fairing for this Falcon 9, and it says the Missile Defense Agency for the Department of Defense. Payload is classified. We don't know exactly what is on this rocket, but that is the customer. We also have this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern out of Launch Complex 4 East in Vandenberg, California. We have Falcon 9 Group 7-14. And then we have one more Starlink launch technically, or one more launch technically tomorrow, but it'll be in the scheme of today at 1:05 Eastern time. Out of LC-39A, out of Kennedy Space Center, we have Nova C or IM-1, which is on the way to the moon. That's what we have from SpaceX today. Also, launching up today, we have a Soyuz 2.1 Progress MS-26 from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and that is a Russian spacecraft that will be flying an unknown payload. So let's get right into this one. We're waiting a coverage to begin from SpaceX. So we'll get into kind of the mission profile and what's going on there. That's probably not good. Let me see. Maybe they moved it. Also, out of Texas, we also have Starship that went through a wet dress rehearsal today, and that's getting ready to launch. That's exciting. This is a SpaceX Falcon 9, yes. SpaceX is targeting Wednesday, February 14th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern for the launch of USSF-124, mission to low Earth orbit from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This will be the 7th launch for this first stage booster supporting the mission, which previously launched Crew 6, SES-03B mPOWER, and 4 Starlink missions. The first stage will land on LZ-2 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Pretty standard in the way that we're breaking it down. We have GoPro propellant, RP1 and LOX at T-35. Second stage LOX at T-16. Engine chill at T-7, right around that. T-1 minute, we have propellant tank pressurization to flight pressure and command flight computer to begin final pre-launch checks. It's pretty much at this point, it's all SpaceX. So this is defense contractors, so NASA is not directly involved. But NASA has very limited resources available for getting payloads to orbit. Mostly, they use contractors like ULA or SpaceX, which is the commercial spaceflight. The only rocket that the NASA program services right now or uses is Artemis. So the SLS or Space Launch System. So they rely on contractors for everything else. So NASA doesn't do very much of their own work anymore at all. They contract it out, which is not terribly a bad thing. So, oh, the link's just broken. I was like, I still don't see it. Where's it at? um, Apologize for that. T-45, go for launch. T-3, engine controller commands ignition sequence to start. Falcon 9 lifts off at 0. This is what our mission profile looks like. We have launched ascent. We'll do a higher flip because we're coming back to a ground landing zone. And then our payload will continue on. So these are pretty standard for something we'd see with like a Starlink mission. T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds. We have max Q. And then we have MECO and stage SEP. We do have a boost back burn on this specific mission, so that's to get it back to the landing zone. And then we'll get first stage landing at 8 minutes and 1 second in to flight. It is probably very certain that they'll cut the broadcast there because of the nature of the payload. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. So let's take us over to the SpaceX broadcast.
Are actively working to dominate the most critical battleground of our day.
And an ad from the Department of
At
Defense.
Space Systems Command, the time to act is now.
No, this main will be
race
recovered. It
is
just
on.
lands back on
Our
land instead of a
adversary
drone ship.
is out there. They are going to work every day, trying to work harder, smarter, faster than us. But we are making sure that.
So they do have 2 landing zones at the Cape. They've been trying to bring them back. They did lose one of their boosters because of rough seas. And obviously it's less labor intensive to send a boat out to the ocean to grab a booster. So if they can, they've been trying to land them at landing zones. And a lot of the reason they didn't do that in the beginning was that, one, it was unproven technology. So it comes with a greater amount of risk, but there's also a big consideration for NASA wouldn't let them, basically. So.
And allied nations to exploit, buy, and build. To deliver better, faster, and more affordably.
We are advancing the space architecture that we have up there right now, making sure that it's optimal, making sure that we get new space architecture set up, prototyping, experiments, to ensure that we can outpace the enemy tomorrow.
To maintain our lead in space, Space Systems Command has embraced a new culture, empowering its people to race forward. Speak up and connect with industry in unprecedented new ways.
Our people are agile.
I don't really want to listen to the DoD commercials, so I'll talk over it. So the USSF, or the United States Space Force, will send 6 satellites to orbit today, 2 for the Missile Defense Agency and 4 for the Agency of Space Development, but did not describe spacecraft, orbital duties, orbital inclination, any of that. So it is a very quiet mission, but there's nothing there that's unusual. The Space Force missions are usually classified, and we usually do not get a payload designation.
Structure next to the vehicle, known as
So
the
we're
strong back, will start to
4:30.
retract.
Strong back retract.
We're starting to see that
There,
strong
you
back
heard that
move.
call out for strong back retraction. Now you'll slowly see the clamp arms just below the fairing begin to open. And once the clamp arms are fully open, the strong back will begin to recline. And shortly after that, the strong back will fully recline in preparation for launch.
Stage 1 IP load complete.
There you heard the call out. The stage 1 propellant loading is complete, and we are still loading stage 2. Again, the vehicle is nearly fully loaded with propellant and will complete in a couple minutes here at the T-2 minute mark. The range is green and ready to support. Weather is looking great with more than a 95% chance of a go. You can see the clear skies on your screen. And if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. Now, additionally, it's worth noting that at the request of our customer, we will not be showing views of the payload. So we will be ending the webcast just after the Falcon 9 booster makes its way back down to land around the T+8 minute mark into flight.
So that's not unusual or
We
uncommon.
finished the
like I said.
stage 1 RP1 load. Should be getting the LOX load call out here shortly.
So looking through the
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
LOX load complete.
There's that call out for stage 1 LOX loading complete. And we are just wrapping up stage 2 loading as well. And we should get that call out at the T-2 minute mark.
So prevailing winds are 10 miles out of the northeast, or 10 knots out of the northeast, excuse me.
Again, you are
Temperature.
looking at live views from Falcon 9 on Launch Pad 40 in Cape Canaveral, preparing for our USSF-124 mission.
0%.
We are finishing up loading propellant and liquid oxygen.
Forget that. 0% precipitation, 0% lightning. 69 degrees Fahrenheit for a temperature. No special weather remarks, no severe weather potential, and partly cloudy on the sky conditions. So there is 0% chance of range violation for weather. So that's a plus from the 45th Delta wing.
Florida, and that venting that you see on the side is normal and expected. That is from the transporter erector liquid oxygen line. Now the next milestone will be at T-1 minute, where the Falcon 9 internal flight computers will take over the count shortly
I don't like
after.
this lady as much. Ground gas closeouts. So you start seeing venting because they're closing out the line so that there's nothing that goes back into the tank farm or the tank system that supplies the LOX and RP1. Starting to see that puffy stuff. It's a good sign. T-1 minute.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And we are in startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
About 10 seconds from the go call out.
This is the mission director. Go for launch.
Go for
There's
launch.
that final mission director go. All systems are go for a launch of Falcon 9 and USSF-124.
Go SpaceX. Go Space
T-minus
Force.
30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon. Go 124.
And liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
And 1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Successful liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40 in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Love is in the air today, and now Falcon 9 is too. Our next milestone is at the T+1 minute and 12 mark, which will be max Q.
Telemetry nominal.
And max Q is the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
Beautiful look there.
Great
Back at
views of
eight.
Falcon 9 there.
Mach 1.
We're coming up on max Q in just a few seconds.
Max Q.
There was max Q, and you could see the really cool view of Falcon going supersonic. You could see that little sonic boom in the live views there. And coming up in just about a minute here are
And
four
that engine chill has started.
events in rapid succession. So the first will be main engine cutoff, and this is where all 9 of the Falcon first stage M1D engines will shut off in preparation for stage separation, which is when the first and second stages will separate, followed by second engine startup, which is when that Merlin vacuum engine of the second stage will start up to boost the payload to low Earth orbit. And then the last event is the boost back burn, where the Falcon 9 first stage will ignite to orient itself to head back to land. Now you can see these events will start in just about 10 seconds here with main engine cutoff.
There's something interesting
Main
in
engine
that
cutoff.
footage.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back setup.
Beautiful
Stage 1 boost back
separation.
setup.
There you saw and heard the confirmation of a successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, second engine start, and boost back burn start. You can see great views from the Falcon first stage. The grid fins will be deploying here shortly. And coming up is fairing deployment as well. And as a reminder, we won't see any live views from the second stage today, so we won't see the fairings deploy, but we will get confirmation of their deployment.
So now we're just they'll focus on this first stage returning to Earth, which is
Fairing
cool.
separation confirmed.
There you heard that
Yep.
call out for successful fairing deployment. Now, coming up next is the end of the boost back burn, which will be happening in just under 10 seconds here.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
There you heard that confirmation of the shutdown of the boost back burn. That is a good burn of the first stage. Again, you are watching a live webcast for USSF-124, a collaboration.
On nominal trajectories.
A collaboration between the Space Systems Command, the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, and the U.S. Space Forces Space Development Agency, delivering 2 prototype satellites to orbit as part of the Hypersonic and Ballistic Tracking Space Sensor Program, as well as the SDA's final 4 Tranche 0 tracking layer satellites. You can see our grid fins have deployed there, and these will help reorient that first stage as it makes its way back down to Earth. And you can see those puffs of gas, they're coming from the attitude control system, and that is nitrogen gas that is coming out. Now today we will be attempting to recover the Falcon 9 first stage back at landing zone 2. And in just a couple minutes, the booster will execute an entry burn followed by a landing burn. Now, both of these burns are meant to slow the booster down rapidly before landing. And if we do have a successful landing today, it will mark the 272nd landing of an orbital class rocket.
It did seem that it wasn't its normal.
Now, in order to make
Normal
its way
speed.
back down to land for orbit, Falcon 9 does have 2 more burns to execute. We already performed our boost back burn, so coming up next is the entry burn in just about a minute. And this is where 3 of the Merlin engines of the first stage will reignite, and this will help slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And then the third and last burn is the landing burn, and this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land back on Earth.
Could have been a lighter payload. I mean, it could have been a
You
lot
can
of
see
things.
those nitrogen cold gas thrusters of our attitude control system, along with our grid fins. Those are hypersonic grid fins, and there's 4 of them around the top of the Falcon first stage.
Stop taking my thing. I talk about the grid fins. Anyways, yeah, so it looks like we're coming back.
We're coming up on the start of our first stage entry burn. This will be about a 20-second burn starting in just a few seconds.
I don't see Florida yet.
Stage 1 entry burn.
There is the start of our stage 1 entry burn. And this is a 3-engine burn that's slowing that first stage down.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
There is that shutdown
Stage
of
1
the
FTS has safed.
shutdown of the
Both
engines.
vehicles are on nominal trajectories.
And those callouts were that the flight termination system has been saved and trajectories are all nominal.
Starting to see that speed bleed
Coming
off.
up next is our stage 1 landing burn in just about 30 seconds here as we come back towards the coast of Cape Canaveral.
A little bit high level.
And there are
there it is.
4 landing legs arranged around Falcon 9 first stage, which will deploy just prior to
Stage 1 is
landing.
transonic.
The vehicle is traveling around 900 miles per hour right now, so that landing burn is really going to slow it down.
You start seeing the LZ come into play.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There is the start of that stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 is on terminal guidance.
Super cool views of landing zone 2.
Now we're going for the little one, not the big
approaching
one.
quick.
The little one to the left, the one that you can see right underneath of it. That's LZ2. LZ1's the bigger one. Landing
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing.
And touchdown.
Stage 2 F2S is saved.
Awesome views. There you have it. We have successfully made the 272nd landing of an orbital class rocket. And with that successful confirmation of our booster landing, that will bring today's webcast to a close. We'd like.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, great landing. Great flight. Like I said, there's plenty more for the spaceflight community tonight. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we have Falcon Group 7-14 out of Vandenberg. Then about 3 hours later, we have Soyuz 2.1 Progress MS-26 out of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And then after that, we have Nova C taking a trip to the moon at 1:05 a.m. Eastern. All 3 of those subsequent launches will be right here. The Starlink will be about 15 minutes prior to launch, so about 7:15 expect coverage. The Progress will be a little bit earlier, and the Falcon 9 Block 5 Nova C IM-1, that will be quite a bit earlier as well, maybe like a 12:30 start. So all dependent on weather and range conditions. You can see there is the Falcon 9 in Vandenberg that will be taking the 714 group of Starlink, and that is Nova C on the right. So that's going to be it for me now. Please hit that like button on your way out, and I hope to see you in a few hours for the next one. Have a good day, guys.